A man was driving along a rural road one day when he saw a three-legged chicken running down the road. He was amused enough to drive alongside it for a while. As he was driving, he noticed the chicken was running 30 miles per hour. Pretty fast chicken, he thought. I wonder just how fast it can run. So he sped up and the chicken did too. They were now moving along the road at 45 miles per hour. The man in the car sped up again. To his surprise, the chicken was still running ahead of him at 60 miles per hour. Suddenly, the chicken turned off the road and ran down a long driveway leading to a farmhouse. The man followed the chicken to the house and saw a man in the yard with dozens of three-legged chickens. The man in the car called out to the farmer, "How did you get all these three-legged chickens?" The farmer replied, "I breed them. You see, it's me, my wife, and my son living here, and we all like to eat the chicken leg. Since a chicken only has 2 legs, I started breeding this three-legged variety so we could all eat our favorite piece." "That's amazing," said the driver. "How do they taste?" "Don't rightly know. I ain't caught one yet." It's the first game of the National Football League season, and a man makes his way to his seat right next to the field. He sits down, noticing that the seat next to him is empty. He leans over and asks his neighbor if someone will be sitting there. "No," says the neighbor. "The seat is empty." "This is incredible," said the man. "Who in their right mind would have a seat like this and not use it?" The neighbor says, "Well, actually, the seat belongs to me. I was supposed to come with my wife, but she passed away. This is the first season opener we haven't been to together since we got married." "Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. That's terrible. Couldn't you find someone else, a friend, relative, or even a neighbor to take her seat?" The man shakes his head. "No," he says. "They're all at the funeral." A 15-year-old Amish boy and his father were in a mall. They were amazed by almost everything they saw, but especially by 2 shiny silver walls that could move apart and then slide back together again. The boy asked, "What is this, father?" The father, never having seen an elevator, responded, "Son, I have never seen anything like this in my life. I don't know what it is." While the boy and his father were watching with amazement, a fat old lady in a wheelchair moved up to the moving walls and pressed a button. The walls opened, and the lady rolled between them into a small room. The walls closed, and the boy and his father watched the small numbers above the walls light up sequentially. They continued to watch until it reached the last number, and then the numbers began to light in the reverse order. Finally, the walls opened up again, and a gorgeous 24-year-old blonde stepped out. The father, not taking his eyes off the young woman, said quietly to his son, "Go get your mother." Once upon a time, there were 2 brothers. One brother was very mischievous, always getting into trouble. The other brother, however, was very good. He was always kind to animals, helped elderly neighbors, and led an exemplary life. As time went on, the brothers stayed in touch but were never close. The evil brother became a heavy drinker and a womanizer. The other brother was a devoted husband and father and supported many charities. One day, the evil brother died. Then, after a few years, the good brother passed away. He went to heaven and was rewarded with a happy afterlife. One day he went to God and asked, "Where is my brother? He died before me, but I have not seen him here in heaven." God replied, "As you know, your brother led an evil life, so he is not spending eternity here in heaven. He has been sent elsewhere." "I'm sorry to hear that," the good brother replied, "but I do miss him and wish I could see him again." "You can see him if you wish," God said. "I will give you the power to gaze into hell." So the power was granted, and the good brother gazed into hell. Before long, he saw his brother sitting on a bench. In one arm he held a keg of beer, and in the other he cradled a gorgeous young blonde. The good brother turned to God and said, "I can't believe what I'm seeing. I have found my brother, and he has a keg of beer in one arm and a beautiful woman in the other. Surely hell cannot be that bad." God explained, "Things are not always as they seem. The keg has a hole in it. The blonde doesn't." A little girl was given a tea set for her 2nd birthday. It became one of her favorite toys, and when her mother went away for a few weeks, she loved to take her father a little cup of tea, which was just water, really, while he was watching the news on TV. He sipped each cup of tea he was brought and raved about the taste, leaving the little girl immensely proud. Eventually, the mother returned home, and the father couldn't wait to show her how the little girl had been looking after him. On cue, the girl took him his cup of tea and he sipped it before praising it to the heavens. The mother watched him drink it and said, "Did it ever occur to you that the only place she can reach to get water is the toilet?" One Sunday, a pastor asked his congregation to consider giving a little extra in the offering plate. He said that whoever gave the most would be able to pick out 3 hymns. After the offering plates were passed, the pastor glanced down and noticed that someone had contributed a $1,000 bill. He was so excited that he immediately shared his joy with his congregation and said he'd like to personally thank the person who had placed the money in the plate. A very quiet, elderly, saintly widow shyly raised her hand. The pastor asked her to come to the front. Slowly she made her way to the pastor. He told her how wonderful it was that she gave so much and asked her to pick out 3 hymns. Her eyes brightened as she looked over the congregation, pointed to the 3 handsomest men in the building, and said, "I'll take him and him and him." An elderly man lay dying in his bed. In death's agony, he suddenly smelled the aroma of his favorite chocolate chip cookies wafting up the stairs. He gathered his remaining strength and lifted himself from the bed. Leaning against the wall, he slowly made his way out of the bedroom and with even greater effort forced himself down the stairs. Gripping the railing with both hands, he crawled down the steps. With labored breath, he leaned against the doorframe, gazing into the kitchen. Were it not for death's agony, he would have thought himself already in heaven. There, spread out upon the kitchen table, were hundreds of his favorite chocolate chip cookies. Was it heaven? Or was it one final act of heroic love from his devoted wife, seeing to it that he left this world a happy man? Mustering one great final effort, he threw himself toward the table, landing on his knees in a rumpled posture. His parched lips parted. The wondrous taste of the cookie was already in his mouth, seemingly bringing him back to life. The aged and withered hand trembled on its way to a cookie at the edge of the table, when it was suddenly smacked away by a spatula held by his wife. "Stay out of those," she said. "They're for the funeral." A man who was installing carpet decides to take a smoke break after completing the first of several rooms he has to do. Finding his cigarettes missing from his pocket, he begins searching, only to notice a small lump in his recently completed carpet installation. Not wanting to rip up all that work for a lousy pack of smokes, he walks over to the lump and pounds it flat. The man decides to forego the break and continues on to the next room requiring carpet. At the end of the day, the man has completed his work and is out on the driveway loading his tools into the back of his truck when the young lad who lives in the house returns home to admire his new carpet. The lad heads back inside the house, gets to the door, and then calls out, "Before you go, have you seen my hamster? He seems to have escaped from his cage again."